Evaluation question 3. What have you learned from your audience feedback? So this one's for my trailer. So if we go into the original audience research and planning and we go down to the category of my trailer and we go back to the start of the year. Okay, so again, all of these will be audience feedback, so I'll just scroll through them and go to where my audience feedback is. I didn't get any feedback on the name because I thought that Schism was a really fitting name for it. It didn't give away too much, and I just sort of I wanted my own stamp on it, and because I wanted that on it, I decided to call it Schism, and I didn't really get any feedback. So then I advertised the roles, all that sort of thing. Again, the certification, I researched into certification and what each certificate involves, and I decided to go for a 15 certificate. Sort of the kiddie version of SAW, shall we say. I was planning it for it to be. Like Heavy Rain, the game.
Are you prepared to suffer to save your son? You have 5 minutes to cut off the last section of one of your fingers in front of the camera. If you succeed, you will get your reward.
I did take a lot of influence from that, and things like that as well. Again, with the production company logos, I didn't really take much audience feedback on that, because I was sort of having to think, having to ponder, and all of a sudden I thought, pandemonium, because I always use thesaurus.com. I put in a word like demon or hell or something that links to what I'm trying to say, and I find more fancy and longer and more cryptic words to more cryptic synonyms for what I'm trying to say. And I saw that I didn't actually realize at first that the middle bit said demon, but then when I did, I thought, oh, the scratches would be really cool. And yeah, so that's where I got the idea for that from. I then I didn't get any feedback on that because I really liked it. So I went ahead and I made a logo using sort of conventional horror colours, reds and blacks and white. And I think this font is really sort of filmic. It gives it a filmic look. And I didn't want demon to stand out too much because it was then going to get slashed by this demon. And I really liked that. And I put it on Facebook, but what they didn't understand was that I was actually asking for feedback on what they would look like put together, but they didn't quite understand that because I didn't completely specify. They thought I was asking which one was better. So I'll talk about the feedback in a minute, but for now we'll move on to the storyboard. Now, the first storyboard I made you saw back there with the gifs of the scenes from Saw, but this one's sort of a more detailed version. The first one, I was on holiday in Wales, and it was on a little tiny sheet, about that big, um, probably a bit smaller actually, and I just sort of was inspired and just quickly jotted it down. So this was sort of the reincarnation of that, with more shots, more detail, and a bit more about what my story was going to be about, and what would happen in each place. So this is just a shot by shot example. So I didn't get any feedback on that per se. I got some interviews about it from my target audience and my primary and secondary target audience, but I didn't really go into the depths of everyone looking at it because I wanted to save some of the storyline and the trailer for once I'd filmed it, just in case I didn't reveal as much in my trailer, and I wanted some people who were sort of fresh to it to give me feedback later on. So then I proceeded to make the animation. I did this in Photoshop and in Movavi, and I added a sort of grain to it, added a sepia, and I made a few different animations, just basically to see what I could do differently and what really worked well. I tried it with the zoom, I tried it without zoom, I tried it without and then with the zoom. I just basically tried a load of different things, and some of this was due to the audience feedback because one of them said that they would prefer it if I didn't, or if it was a bit more snappy or something like that. So basically, so it was based on them, but then I made the final decision. So my target audience did get a say in the matter. They got to decide what was good, but they also, I made the final decision. We've got the pitch and the treatment. So then I thought about the saw trap. Now here, if we press play here and we move forward to here, I really like the editing and the sort of feeling going down when it goes down. And I really liked that build up, and I kind of wanted to use that, but rather than doing such fast-paced editing in such a small sort of place where it's going to be very, very low key and I wasn't going to be able to get many shots of different things, I wanted to sort of replicate the first sort of glimpse of what we just saw there, which is here.
I woke up. All I could taste was blood.
Here, where she stands up, the camera rotates around her on tracks, and it's sped up as well. Again, we get fast editing, but rather than getting camera movements, what I wanted to do, rather than sort of zooming in and zooming out and doing that sort of thing, I wanted it to have a sort of blur to it. So that is why I had a bit of a think, and what I did was I filmed it in a dark room with reflectors and torches so that I got enough light on the face and maybe not all the way saw the face. It was a bit sort of in and out, and walked around him in a circle 360 degrees, filming him while he struggled, and then I copied it, made one set of the film slow and one of it fast, so they overlap just a little bit, and it makes a really trippy sort of effect. For example, here's the first time I tried it. It has a bit of music in with it as well. And later on I will show you what that sort of came to at the end. So again, not really audience feedback, but it's something that I really wanted to do, and I researched it, and again it sort of shows how I didn't really contemplate audience feedback in the early stages. It was more towards the end that I did. Then we had the animatic storyboard with the sound, and if you actually listen to this, you see how much my trailer developed due to the audience feedback. We start off with completely taken off the internet sounds. So unfortunately, I got interrupted again. So I went ahead and I filmed a few of the shots, and I formed sort of half of the trailer, although it came to a really long scene. Really, it was 2 minutes and 58 seconds, and it wasn't even the full trailer at all, which sort of worried me a bit. But I felt as though it would be better if I had too much footage than if I had too little. So
I fought with bravery.
now in here, I didn't really think about the visual effects. I was more focused on getting the feel of the film and where I was going to put the camera and things like that.
Help! Help! Anyone!
I mean, the actual film, actual trailer, I had to cut this scene down massively, which like my first go at it, getting to know the pace, getting to know what I was going to do, that sort of thing. And I didn't actually get much audience feedback on that. I just sort of used my own intuition again. But I did get a little bit saying sort of just a bit of feedback. They like the layout. They like the acting. Seems to be quite psychological, so she quite likes it. Things like that. So shows suspense really well, and that's sort of good because I mean it means that I'm in the right direction. I'm going in the right direction, and I'm creating the right sort of thing. So what I did was I carried on with that style, and I made the animatic storyboard a little bit shorter because it was, I think, about 4 minutes before, and then I narrowed it down to 3 minutes and 38 seconds, which it still needed cutting, and I think that was really a good thing more than a bad thing, because it meant that I got to add pace and didn't run out of footage whilst having the pace still be in there. So a lot of people's problems are trying to boost up the trailer to being sort of at least a minute and a half long, whereas mine was getting it down, which wasn't really too much of an issue because you just edit quickly, much more quickly, which is good because in a horror film, especially a psychological horror, the editing does tend to be quite quick and fast paced, so that was good. So I spent a lot of time doing sort of risk assessments and focusing on mise-en-scène and stuff, and not actually making the poster, focusing on the little details, what sound effects I'd need, that sort of thing, and focusing on the poster in the magazine as well. Sort of getting people and cast members and things like that. So I decided to do that. Then I did a few test shots, which were meant to be sort of real, basically what it was going to be. So I did it, and this is how it turned out. It doesn't have any sound. But I just wanted to see whether they liked the editing style, whether they wanted me to change anything, that sort of thing. And I wanted to make sure that it was done in the right way and in the right style as well, because it is a very different style to what I had before, and it was just a little clip, but you know, it's something that works. So I wanted to see whether my target audience still liked the style and thought that it fitted with the genre and things like that. So again, I asked them for a little bit of feedback, and I got some feedback on Twitter saying it's coming together, keep it up, nothing to change. So it was going really well, so I decided to keep with that that style and that genre convention that I was using, and my own sort of spin on it a little bit. Then I edited the green screen footage, which the technician at my college, he basically put up the green screen incorrectly. He left a load of creases in it and gave me absolutely no idea of how to use it. He didn't tell me what to do. He didn't tell me that it shouldn't have creases in it. He didn't tell me to light it properly, anything like that. He just said, just and he left. So I was a bit stuck, and then I was a bit missed because my final product doesn't actually look that great. I mean, we start off with this clip here, which in small looks okay, but once you maximize it, and it's on a bit of a lighter screen, it looks awesome. Now this is the same style theme, and this is why I couldn't use it for the poster in the magazine, because even if I had Ethan inside there, it just doesn't look realistic at all, and it really wouldn't work for a poster or a magazine, which is why I decided to change the layout. And then this shot was meant to be the big reveal at the end, but it really didn't work because of that green screen, because of how small it was, and because of everything like that, and it really, really did annoy me, and it really didn't make me happy at all. I was very annoyed about it, but I got some feedback on the test shots as well from Facebook, and people said that they were good. The spoon wasn't quite in focus, but it was just about sort of doing a bit of editing. So I decided to stay with that style, just edit the spoon so that it was in focus, and I carried on with what I was doing. So then I did a bit of prosthetics on Ethan's face, and we filmed the sink scene. So here's all the footage. You can see it there. You can see what's going on when it loads. This is basically just everything that I filmed. You can probably see me in the mirror filming at some points, using that technology there, and really getting a feel for what we were doing and what was going on. Yeah.
Look up really, really slowly. Action.
So, yeah. Then I took some pictures of the victims just for the case file, which you don't even see the pictures, but you know. Then I did a bit more editing. Again, not influenced by the audience research or anything, but still quite cool. Added a bit more footage in and things like that. So there we go. And I didn't tend to get feedback at every single stage, more sort of every time I completed a scene and re-edited it. So for example, I got someone to watch it there, and they said that they thought it was really, really good. They really liked the shots and the style and things like that, and there wasn't really much that I needed to change. Maybe finishing it and making the narrative more sort of explanatory and things like that, but nothing really to change much with the trailer. So this is how it turned out then. So the first bit stayed exactly the same, but I just made sure that the spoon was in focus when he placed it down on the chopping board there, because I thought that they were really good and really quite cool. Then we had the eating the cereal, which was again the same. And the jump cuts I thought were good, but I felt that they needed to be more jarring since it was quite a psychological film. But I wanted to get a bit more feedback and see whether that was the right thing to do, which in hindsight, I prefer it that way. But my audience, I think, prefers it to be more jarring. So then he sees something, it comes back to him, and there's blood on his hands. So again, it's changed an awful lot since then. Now it doesn't change too much from this version, really. So every time I made a new section, I sort of added in I sort of got feedback. So then I went to shot some more footage, did a bit more stuff on it, and started to add sound. So this was from like things that I've recorded myself at home, bit of Foley really, from doing the actions myself. and I believe that until here you see that I have actually made it quite jarring again, and that's why I changed it. But I also added it, I added in the contrasine which I did in the test shots, but I didn't think it looked professional at all. So I did take it out again in the end, just as a personal thing that I didn't like. But I didn't add any more sound other than the first montage, which is actually the same sound that's still in there. So I did well with that. Then I filmed the projector scene, and I edited it together. And you can see it on ×11 fast forward there, which I actually think is quite relaxing to watch. So you see me editing it and just putting all the pieces together really. So I put everything together and edited it and added casts and vignettes and things like that. And changed a little bit of what they looked like. Oops. Rendered them out a bit. Edited the projector scene and the cleaver scene together, and I added the green screen into it and used some of the footage from before, but I'm kind of having trouble relating this back to audience feedback because I'm finding it hard since I've got so many distractions. I don't actually know what I've already gone over. So then that was the up-to-date trailer that I was editing then, which you saw was exactly the same. And then I decided to start working on the sound design because I'd already had all of the audience feedback that I needed. They liked the style, they liked how it was going so far, and I liked the projector bit really quite well. So I went on to sound designing instead and decided to go on GarageBand and really have a look at what I could create. I added Foley in, and I added sort of a lot of the sounds that I'd made myself, which I actually did make all of the sounds myself. I then added the sound. This was the next time that I went onto that computer, and I decided to move around some things, and so again, not really created onto my audience feedback per se, more sort of what I was deciding, but in the end I did get target audience thing. I then added the music, which I thought linked to the genre a lot more. So it has changed a lot from when we last saw it. We now have the music and things like that, but we don't have any sound really. So then I decided to cut the song out a bit and change it a little bit, but I still didn't think that it was as explanatory, and it still didn't have as much of the sound. So what I wanted to do was add some voiceover. Now, I did all of this without audience feedback, apart from one sort of little piece where I showed it to someone and I said, what do you think the story is? And they just hadn't got a clue. Like they said that it was some guy cutting his finger off to find what happened to his friends, but they didn't really get it. So what I did was I added a voiceover from another part of the film.
This is Detective Jake Peralta, officer number 3501.
What happened and what was going on, that he was on trial and things like that, and sort of introducing the characters. Then I was making some sounds for the knife sounds, and then the final trailer is all of the sounds that I made myself, everything, absolutely everything, all put together, and here it is.
This is Detective Jake Peralta, officer number 35019. I open the case under Detective Chief Inspector Robin Kingsley, 66129. The person who stands before you in this courthouse today, I believe to be the murderer of 4 teenagers 5 years ago today. These teenagers were each drugged and tied to chairs in front of a bonfire before being brutally murdered and thrown into the flames. I believe that my fellow officers overlooked a vital piece of information in the original investigation. But upon studying the old case, I found new leads.
Is it not true that you are currently undergoing investigation for contaminating evidence, Detective Peralta?
It is, Your Honour. I'd like to open this case.
Mess you made. There's no funding.
For mutilated children.
You need to concentrate on this one. Take a look at it, but I'm not promising anything.
So why would I trust someone like you?
So then, that is the final product, and I'll just talk you through it and show how my audience feedback has helped me to develop it throughout the whole stages. So we started off with absolutely no sound and not even the bowls and this opening sequence. So when the first opening sequence started, there was no sound. It was quite a long sequence, and there were a lot more shots. Whereas this time I decided to...
This is Detective Jake Peralta, officer number 35019.
And when the audience told me that it didn't really make much sense to them, it really sort of made me put together the narrative and the genre and everything else as well. And then we have the Pandemonium Productions thing, where I got a lot of feedback. And then again,
I opened the case under Detective Chief Inspector Robin Kingsley, 66129. The person who stands before you in this courthouse today, I believe to be the murderer of 4 teenagers 5 years ago today. These teenagers were each drugged and tied to chairs in front of a bonfire before being brutally murdered and thrown into the flames.
Oh, that's not the final one. Where's the final one gone? Hold on.
This is before being brutally murdered and thrown into the flames.
What's happened to the final one?
I believe.
Mess you made. There's no funding.
For mutilated children.
Okay, so this is the final one, which apparently wasn't published, but I shall publish it now. But so again, we start off with the bowl, and we didn't start off with that.
This is Detective Jake Peralta, officer number 35019.
Things like that. You get to know more of the narrative. And then we've
I
got
open the case
eating
under Detective
cereal,
Chief
it's jarred a
Inspector
bit
Robin
more.
Kingsley,
Again, we see a bit
66129.
flashes of the murder.
I
We get
believe to be the murder of
voiceover
4
telling
teenagers
us
5 years
what's
ago
on,
today. These
and
teenagers were each drugged and
the
tortured
music
and
to
thrown
add
into the
sort of
flames.
fear and suspense. And then the screen here, it sound bridges over to the main Zara screen, which
I
thought was
believe
quite
that
a
my
horrific
fellow officers
possible
overlooked
horror
a
film.
vital piece of
We then have
information
this
in
scene
the
which
original
was really
investigation.
influenced by Saw,
Upon studying
and
the old case,
my audience
I found
didn't have much
new leads.
input into this scene. I really wanted this bit to
Is
be
it not
really
true
influenced by Saw
that you
and
are
not my
currently
audience.
undergoing
The first bit in the past
investigation
bit I wasn't
for
sure about
contaminating
influenced by
evidence,
Saw.
Detective
So
Peralta?
this is how that shot finally panned out,
It is, Your Honour.
which I actually really quite like. And then it was again more about this bit is sort of not really target audience research. I really wanted to sort of go for it and see what they thought of at the end, just to sort of make sure that they didn't know what was going on before they were
Mess you
told.
made. There's no funding.
For mutilated children.
You need to concentrate on this one. Take a look at it, but I'm not promising anything.
So why would I trust someone like you?
And then again we've got the end with the blood. So the audience really did were the main focus there. And then if we go back into research and planning and go to my trailer, I haven't uploaded the final feedback, but I shall go on to it. And if we go on the notifications and scroll down, we will find where it started to. If I just scroll down a little bit to where it is. Here we go. So if we look here, this is where I posted it on. So if we look here, we see the feedback. Nice work. I love that 360-degree shot. Very cool. I also like the camera turning a little wink at the first Saw with Amanda and the inverted bear trap. So they got my influence straight away there, which is really good. 360-degree, had it on the tip of my tongue. So there we go. Really like it. What a good inspiration, and this end, haha, it's good. So they really do like it, and Josh Stolberg, being an industry professional, loved the 360-degree shot, which is really good. And it really sort of finishes off what I was really wanting to achieve. It really links that. So let's just go over it. Codes and conventions and layout. The codes and conventions are everywhere. Low-key lighting. The blue hue gets stronger the further you go. There's blood, there's gore, there's insinuated, chopping off a finger. There's worry, all sorts in there. Then the layout, it's really fast paced. It's got intertitles, and it's got company logos and things like that. Which wasn't particularly influenced by my audience research, although the logo was chosen by my audience, and I more checked stuff by my audience rather than making them the main aim like I did with my poster. Then the genre is highlighted everywhere with the genre conventions that I stated before. The representation of Ethan, he's quite feminine, whereas David's quite ready for a challenge and things like that, which sort of shows it's unconventional because it shows Ethan as someone who's not someone who you would imagine to be in a horror film. And I think that really sort of makes it different from other horror films. Reaching the audience, I think I've reached them because of the protagonist slash protagonists. They're young, and so are my audience, and they really will be able to identify with that. Then
I think the whole theme of mental illness and things like that and what's happened and wanting to know more really links to my target audience as well. The narrative is shown. We know that he has to do these tasks to find justice for his friends, and we know that this guy is someone being put on trial for killing 4 people and throwing them into a bonfire. We know that's something not right going on, and I think that that really links to my audience, because they gave me feedback on my in the very early stages, and I used that feedback to really mold what I wanted to do in the later stages, and then they really liked the end product. So I am really happy with how it turned out.
Evaluation question 3. What have you learned from your audience feedback?